So, the highlight of the first day of Donald Trump's first criminal trial is that he fell asleep. Welcome to Law and Society. I'm going to go over the court proceeding briefly and give a sort of assessment of what we should expect in the coming days. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. So, Judge Merchan shot down Donald Trump's repetitive ask for Judge Merchan to recuse himself from the case. So, at the beginning of the proceedings yesterday, or today, earlier today, yesterday for me, because I'm on the other side of the world, uh, he denied the recusal motions right away. He also warned Donald Trump of the possibility of criminal contempt if he would not abide by court proceedings, if he uh, fell out of line. He also uh, warned about not being there because he had to be, Donald Trump has to be there, the criminal defendant has to be there for his trial, and warned that if he wasn't there, it would lead to an arrest. So then the judge went on to other matters where he ruled that uh, that Donald Trump's attorneys could not use the political persecution argument at trial, and so there was a whole because of the fact that Judge Merchan said that Donald Trump had to be there because he's a criminal defendant. You know, his allies and his friends and his lawyer Alina Habba went on the internet talking about went on media talking about political persecution and how he wouldn't be able to attend Barron's uh, high school graduation. And then Ms. Hubba said how Donald Trump's due process rights were being violated because he was not being allowed to go and sit in on the oral arguments that are about to happen on the 25th of April in Donald Trump's immunity appeal. That is not what due process of law is. Due process of law under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment and under the 14th Amendment, they operate a little bit differently from one another, but due process of law is you having the right to not self-incriminate, you having the right to an attorney, you having the right to a defense, you have a right to face your accuser. Then there is the probable cause elements that need to be met before the grand jury can assess and issue an recommend an indictment, and then that indictment is filed in court. Then the court proceedings begin, and then Donald Trump is put on notice. And in civil procedure, the notice happens, and then there's service of process, and then there is discoveries. Same with criminal trials. After the indictment happens, uh, there will be pretrial proceedings, and then there will be motions that we're seeing happen. Then we go into jury selection, and then the trial begins. All these steps that are put in the criminal context, that is the defendant receiving due process of law under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment. And then there's the due process of not being held liable for the same crime again in double jeopardy. And so due process of law means that a defendant is provided with each of these guardrails that guard against malicious or politically motivated prosecutions, or in any way contemptible prosecutions that should not be happening. So that is due process of law that is there to defend and keep the defendant's rights. And during the deliverance of justice, during the administration of justice, Now, Donald Trump does not have any requirement to go to the oral arguments at the Supreme Court. He does have a requirement of being at the Manhattan trial because he's the criminal defendant in that trial. But although Donald Trump is the petitioner in the appellate process of the immunity appeal in SCOTUS, there's no requirement for Donald Trump to be at SCOTUS when his lawyers argue his case. No requirement as there is an argument as there's a requirement with criminal cases and criminal defendants having to be available during trial, during trial, and during the court proceedings. So Alina Habba went on Fox and lied to millions of people about what due process of law is. And at some point, the Bar Association of wherever she is licensed to practice needs to look into her words and her actions, because she is misleading masses by lying about basic fundamental legal principles that underlie our jurisprudence. So, I find that to be great disservice to the people that someone like Habba would go out and talk about due process of law and claim somehow that not being able to go to the Supreme Court to hear the oral arguments, where Donald Trump has no role, has no sort of reason to be there, because it's just the attorney and the court, the 9 justices, and the attorneys of the two sides. Whereas in the trial, criminal trial, a criminal defendant has to be present for the trial to proceed should there be any development, should the court need criminal defendant in the instant case. Then also, moving away from the due process lie by Alina Habba, the court also ruled that the Access Hollywood video of Donald Trump talking about grabbing women by their private parts cannot come in, but the words can come in. So that's a win. So most of the motions were a win for the state, because Donald Trump really doesn't have a case to bring. The only case he has, only defense he has is delay, and he has exhausted his delays. Finally, Donald Trump objected to witnesses, and the court held that witnesses Cohen and Stormy Daniels and the McDougal lady, they can testify. So all in all, it was a productive day where Donald Trump was put in his place. And I don't know if I want to come back every day and talk about jury selection, but if Alina Habba or people like that make comments that are just outlandish, I can't help but come out and talk to you a little bit about that. So thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you're new to my channel, and do share. Thank you, Deb, for being here. And I will talk to y'all soon.